Hey, everybody out there in podcast world. It is Pastor Steve here with Motivating Moments. I am so excited, as always, to share this time together with you and looking forward to a wonderful time just to encourage you, to challenge you, perhaps to inspire you, and just looking forward to motivating you towards the goals, the dreams, the visions that you have resident in your heart, because I believe you can. Hey, you know what? We would love it if you would search us out on all of our social media platforms. You can find me on Instagram at Pastor Steve Evans. You can also find Pastor Steve Evans on Facebook, and always the link to the website is in the show notes, and we are always here and accessible, and we would love to hear how this podcast is touching your life and maybe encouraging you, and just share that time together and just exchange that dialogue. It would be most encouraging for me. As always, even at the onset of this, because I know that I'm going to forget it if I wait until the conclusion of today's content to encourage you in it. If you like these episodes, hey, consider sharing it. It's real quick. Just send it to somebody maybe that you even know personally through text message or things. Just shoot them the link to the podcast. Let them hear it. Let them be encouraged by it as well. Especially today, I want to challenge you. If you know somebody who's going through a rough place and they are also burdened with a major decision, I want to really grab the attention today of anybody that's walking in that space in particular, because I'm going to share with you a page from my own history and experience, and just something that if life had mulligans off the golf course, I mean, if there were moments in time that you could stop and call a do-over, these would definitely be some of the areas where I would feel so inclined to just, hey, let me have another crack at this, because I didn't get it right the first time around. And I know that I think I've identified the reason why. And I can't wait to share that why with you today, because I think it's going to be a great asset, a great tool in your tool gear to be able to help you advance in your purpose and your calling. So we'll dive right into today's content. Today's content is centered around decision making. But moreover, today's content is centered around an awareness of where you are in the decision-making process. Now, let me clarify here. Let me be quick to clarify exactly what I'm speaking about. I'm not saying that you need to know, are you in the exploratory stages? Are you in a stage where you're just kind of reviewing all of the criteria, or are you at that critical do or die moment? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about today, where are you emotionally? Where are you spiritually? Where are you mentally? Where are your thoughts right now? Can I just be very open with you right now in this moment and say that those moments that I have desired a do-over in life usually came on the heels of a time that I had a major decision to make, but I was not aware fully of where I was. Maybe I knew where I was, but I didn't realize how powerful where I was going to impact the decision that I made, how where I was mentally, emotionally, spiritually was going to impact the direction that I would take and my satisfaction with the outcome, honestly. And there have been a lot of times in my life that I have not paid attention to. I knew where I was. But I just didn't factor that into the decision making. And hopefully now at this point in my life, I've reached a place of maturity to be able to say, you know what, I'm not in a good place right now to make that decision. What about you? What great decisions are hanging in the balance for your life? Is it a career decision? Is it a relationship decision? Is it a self-improvement decision? What kind of decisions are you dealing with right now? So I want you to hold that piece over here, and you probably have, some sense of, well, I need to make this decision. There's all this urgency around making this decision even. And there's a pressure brought to bear when we're making major life decisions that it just feels so urgent and so necessary that we answer the question right now, that we can begin to operate and decide from bad places. The single worst decisions I have ever made in my life were during times when I was frustrated. I was frustrated with where I was. Now, this is a different where I was. I was frustrated with, where I was with regard to career opportunity. I was frustrated with where I was as far as outcome to the efforts invested. I was weary. I was tired. I was just really had come to places where I'd beat myself up and just convinced myself that, there was no other way. There's just no other way than to make this move right now in this season. And I have lived to regret some of those decisions. Now, obviously, God's sovereignty can overcome our stupidity given enough time. And the Lord does direct our steps, and we do, if we're sensitive to the leadership of the Spirit, find ourselves being moved even from our wrong choices sometimes. Now, there are times that you can just step into places out of frustration, anger, whatever the case. There are times that you can step completely out and position yourself in places and in ways that really make it difficult for people to accept you in the places where you would have otherwise gone. So, but I've made decisions before out of frustration, out of fear, out of just places of uncertainty and not knowing what was coming next, if opportunity was ever going to avail itself again. And just you're in this pressure, a pressure cooker. It almost feels like a pressure cooker. You're not only dealing with the frustrations of life, you're not only dealing with hurt or anger or whatever it is that you're dealing with, which is a burden in and of itself, a heavy weight, and then add to it that, hey, there's this opportunity that's come along. Here's what happens in those moments. Opportunities present themselves, and if we're not in the right place, we don't have the clarity of vision to be able to understand if that is truly an opportunity or if it is just an escape hatch that happens to have presented itself. And we don't operate in wisdom, we don't operate in clarity because we're not operating from a good place. So I want to challenge you, if you are in one of those seasons right now where you have major life decisions. Maybe you just got a job offer, just it popped up out of the blue, but at the same time, you had been frustrated at the work you're at the job you're at. You had been severely frustrated with that. Is that providential? It very well may be. It very well may be. But on the other hand, it may not be. And I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm just trying to say, somehow or another, we need to find a way to position ourselves in the best places to be able to make decisions. And if we are in that scenario that I just laid out there, if we're in that scenario where we are frustrated and we are presented an opportunity, in that moment, we need to make sure that that is the best decision for us in the long run. As it pertains to our dreams, our visions, our goals in life, we need to make sure that that is the right direction for us and not just a relief valve on the pressure of the frustration that we're feeling at the work we're in. Because I can promise you this, sometimes the bad places that we're in are the result of our poor thought processes, our inability to rightly assess situations, to interpret relationships and things that are peripheral. And what we'll find is we'll move to this new place, and for the first 90 days, maybe even the first 6 months, it is a wonderful, wonderful experience because everybody loves you when you're new. And then as time progresses, though, you begin to have this rear view glance and say, you know, when you really get through all of it and do the side by side comparison, you realize that maybe your opportunities aren't as great in the new place as they were in the old. Your chances of advancement are a lot less. The chance of promotion and higher pay and all these things, it's way less because maybe out of frustration you went to a lower performing company. And now you find yourself in this place and you're regretting the move that you made because the move that you made wasn't logical. It wasn't well informed. It wasn't an intelligent move. Not saying that you're not intelligent. I'm just saying it wasn't an intelligent move. It was an emotional move. That emotional move born out of frustration. I've got to get out of this place. It reminds me of the old 60s anti-war anthem. We got to get out of this place if it's the last thing we ever do. Sometimes we're in those seasons and that's the level of frustration that's in life when we're making those major directional decisions for our lives. And we need to be sure that we understand the place that we're in. Now, what do you do if you do find yourself in a season of frustration and that season of frustration coincides with the urgency of having to make a crucial decision? Well, that's one of those areas there where we really need to phone a friend. I mean, we need to find a trusted confidant, somebody that is wise, somebody that can hold confidence, somebody that we can be gut level honest with and say, here are the plethora of my frustrations. Here's the scope of my fear, my anger, whatever it is. Here's the opportunity that's before me. Here's the choice that I need to make. And here's the context of my current situation. And, you know, it's kind of like I'm recording this podcast. I reside here in Eastern North Carolina. So all of my life, I've been accustomed to, through the late summer, fall seasons of the year, we've had occurrences where a lot of hurricanes have passed through. And, it's always... these things often seem to come in the middle of the night. It's dark. You can't really make an accurate assessment of the weather. I mean, you just look out, you can see a little bit of the trees bowing and you hear the rushing of the wind and you understand that the conditions aren't favorable, but you don't really know. But as long as the power holds out or you have a radio or something, you have this outside voice that can come in and say, okay, we're watching this on radar. And here's what's happening around you. You're this much away from the eye wall of the storm passing over you. You're this much, and then you're going to have this long, and then the storm's coming again. And based on that information, you don't go out and jump in your car and drive several minutes or an hour down the road knowing that just because it was calm for a few minutes, it doesn't mean that the tail end of that storm isn't getting ready to come through. And you decide, hey, I need to stay here because I know there's a lot more duration to this storm. I know that there's a lot more to come behind this. So I'm going to make my decision based on not what I perceive right here in the moment. I'm not relying on my own perception or my ability to assess what I'm seeing here or the lack of what I'm seeing here. I'm going to rely on somebody who has a clearer, overarching vision, who can see my situation and can help me assess and make the right decision. Now, here's the thing: in this moment of frustration, if your confidant says to you and you trust them, I mean, if this is a trusted advisor, if they say to you, "Listen, I really think that it's best for you right now. I've prayed about it. I've thought about it. I've given it consideration, and I really feel like that the best answer for you right now is just to stay put." It may take a lot of faith on your part to stay put. But if you'll trust that process, I feel like that you would be more satisfied and much better served down the road. Listen, opportunities will come. Opportunities will come. And you know what? It's better to pass up a good opportunity than it is to pounce on a bad opportunity, because you decided from a bad place. And I've come to discipline my own self in this to say, you know what? I need to choose something right here, right now. But I know that based on my frustration, I need to have a conversation. Sometimes I just decide. I know that I need to have a conversation with somebody. I know the conversation is going to be uncomfortable. I know the conversation has the potential of becoming intense. I know that what generally spurs my awareness for the need of the conversation isn't favorable and has probably really challenged me emotionally. So I've come to this discipline where I say, you know what? I need to have that conversation. Now is not a good time to decide to have that conversation. Because what I know is I need to go somewhere, emotionally process this myself, and wait just a few minutes so that it's not so fresh that it causes embarrassment for the person that I'm going to be talking to. And that I'm sure that I've got myself together in a way as a leader to be able to steer that conversation and to take that conversation to healthy and constructive places. So it's imperative for you and I that we know where we are before we make major decisions about the direction of our career, our educational paths, relationships. Listen, if you may be 25, 26 years old right now, 27, whatever, you're 30, just whatever. And your family may be putting pressure on right now. Hey, when are you ever going to get married? How long are you going to be single? How long before this? How long before that? That's great. And in the sovereignty of God, He knows, but none of us can, and none of us do. And, there again, that's a position in life. That's the position that you're in, and you need to be aware of that position as you are looking for a spouse, as you're looking for a mate in this world. You need to be aware of that position and know that desperation to satisfy the inquiries of other people can't be the determinant or the driver in your decision-making process. That's not healthy. That's not good. And what you'll find out down the road is that, maybe waiting wasn't exactly what you wanted to do, but it would have been far better than diving in with the wrong person. So that happens with jobs. It happens with relationships, certainly. It happens a lot of times. I am a church pastor, and I am in church life a lot. I see a lot of people come and go. And I have staff members, staff persons, and I do even believe in those moments sometimes that people have their own set of frustrations, aggravations with certain certain issues and elements around work life, and I see people come and go sometimes, and I believe there's a lot of frustration in the driver's seat oftentimes, or at least those people are making decisions from poor places. So I just want to challenge you with that, to build that awareness in your mind, in your heart, and also to build the discipline in your life to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to tap the brakes here. I'm going to decide not to decide until I'm in a better place, or I have sought the counsel of someone that I trust. I've prayed and I've really understood that, yes, this is the thing that I need to do. Whether it be I need to move by faith. And I'm not saying that, the answer is ever etched on the wall and, it's just never a question and never scary to make a big jump like that, or, in certain areas of life. I'm not recommending that at all, but I am saying that we need to be sure that when we begin to step out in life, when we begin to make major moves, when we make major decisions, let me give you one more. I got to give you this before we go. Can I just challenge you not to make large purchases from an emotionally unhealthy place? Can you exercise that awareness to know that you're not in a healthy place emotionally when you're making decisions, and just understand that if you do that, you're going to have to live with that decision. You're going to have to pay for that decision, quite literally. And if you had just tapped the brakes for a minute and said, wait a minute, I'm impulsing this major decision. It's not a need, it's a want. And moreover, it's not only a want, but it is a want that is driven by an emotional deficiency that's going on in my life right now. And I'm trying to fill a void, a spiritual, emotional void with a material thing, and that's not going to work. Those are just some of the examples of things that I'm talking about. And I do want to, again, just urge you to think about those disciplines. How are you assessing your own mind, your own heart when you're making decisions? And are you making decisions? Are you deciding from healthy places? Listen, why is this so important? This is so important because making decisions from unhealthy places will undermine your ability to be successful in this life. Making decisions from bad places will undermine your ability to be emotionally well after the fact, to eliminate regret from your life, to be able to move forward with a confidence, knowing, sometimes we know that we made that move from the wrong motive. And we just really need to challenge that. We really need to challenge that because I don't want to see you discouraged. I don't want to see you, just really beaten down and beaten by your own self sometimes is the scenario there. So challenge you with that word today. Know where you're at. Stop before you ask, what am I going to do? What needs to happen here? What's going on? Stop and ask the question first and say, you know what, where am I? Where am I at? Am I emotionally well? Am I fearful? Am I in a good place mentally? Have I been hurt? Am I angry? All these things, and then just stop and just kind of get yourself collected. Find that trusted counselor. Talk it through. Work through all of the rationale. Work through the rationale, the reason, and say, no, this is a sound, logic, rational, intelligent decision. And now, as I feel the release in my spirit, the prompting of the Lord, I can move forward with confidence. And I want you to be confident. I want you to be motivated. And hey, it's been great sharing this time with you. Thank you for these few moments, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I thank you for sharing this time together. And as always, I am looking forward to the next time. And until then, I want to encourage you to stay motivated.